Okay, I'm just playing Mono Blue Ninjas again. Well, Mono Blue Fairies and Ninjas, I guess. No changes since the last video. Same list, literally the same list. Okay. Opponent goes first. Two snaps, Snare Master, Miscreant. Not the best hand. You can probably just throw it back and hope to get a better one. No real way to accelerate. And the snaps are card advantage negative. This is a little bit better. Got two Seers to look for stuff. Other Mine's kind of useless here. I think we keep here, put the other Mine back. Thought Scour, Counterspell, and another Thought Scour. So this is probably Mono Blue. Terror would be my guess here. Potentially Dimir Terror. Let's look for Faerie Seer. Let's put back anything that's an island. If we see Delver, we can be pretty certain it's Mono Blue. This is kind of great here, actually. We put top. The next turn, we just hold up Stutter, probably. Depending on what they play here. Oh, you see Island here. 1, 2. If they play Augur. Oh, they play Modern Age. Oh, that is interesting. Well, it's almost definitely still a Terror deck, no matter what. Let's see if they can turbo out a Terror on turn 3. Oh, they put in a Deep Analysis in the grave. Well, that's not anything we can stutter. Let's see. Well, we play the island, no matter what here. We could try to bluff having Counterspell. I know what I have on top is Open Mind. I think we just swing in here now. We kind of need like a snap, I think, is what we need. Or a counterspell for their inevitable terror. They're probably doing this to turbo out terror. They can probably almost definitely play terror on turn 2. And then between terror and the modern age, that was both pretty bad. If they flash back this island, that's also pretty bad too. Anyways, let's go ahead and just ninja here. It's a little bit aggressive, I think. But it lets us dig past the of one mind. If they don't play terror here, then we at least can find something, hopefully. And yeah, that's sort of what we're at right now. Let's see here. Lorien in the grave, yeah. They can straight up just turbo out terror here. If we get a little lucky and they go deep analysis. Oh, okay, a little bit of luck, a little bit. Well, no. If they throw away a card in Sinner Sorcery, then they can play terror on turn 3 here, regardless. Then they have a flying clock with the modern age. Yeah, let's see. Consider. Okay. Yeah, this terror here. There it is. There it is. There it is. Okay. 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 Let's see here. Let's go Seer. We are looking for snaps, I think. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Do we need the island? I don't think so. I think we can put the island on the bottom. And snap on top. Snap back their flipped modern age, let them swing. We'll take the 5. I guess the Of One Mind may have mattered, actually. Because if we had kept the other card on top, we could have played the Of One Mind. Turn 6? We'll see. We'll see. We kind of need, like, counterspell effects, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. They can dig here, too, I think. They go... Their best play is probably to go deep analysis. Oh, they throw away a Force Spike. Okay, cool. Maybe they have another Force Spike in hand? I don't know. I don't know. Let's see what we can get here. The only bit of luck maybe is that they don't have... Well, yeah, I don't know. The other thing is also that, like... Oh man, here we got a little clock spinning issue. Yeah, alright, 5 damage. Let's see if they go for a deep analysis here. And they don't. Okay, let's see here. Well, I think we kind of have to. Try snapping this back. 2 mana. Counterspell. We can try to stutter here. If they spell pierce or dispel on the snap. Swinging with everything. Let's see what we get here. I think it's more correct not to Moon Circuit Hacker here. Okay, there we go, you see. Okay. Now we can safely hold up. We can take another terror hit. One and 2. We'll go ahead and try stuttering this. If they have counterspell, it resolves this. Yeah, you see. Would have dug them deeper. They can't deep analysis here either, so that's fine. Let's see what we get here. Basically have to just keep trying to snap back their stuff, their vector gliders. Would I Snare Master here? Yeah, I think I would actually. I think I probably would Snare Master here. Let's see. We have, let's see, 2, 5 outs. We can try looking for one of them. No blocks. It's fine. Wow. Well, might as well. Let's snap it back. One. Come on, 1 island. 2 islands. Let's see. Do I seer here? I think so. Put some other blocker at least. Makes our moon circuits better. Or I can go Of One Mind. Let's just go Of One Mind first. Draw more cards. Play the island. Okay, okay. This is pretty good here, I think. I can go... Let's see here. Alright, let's just not worry about the seer for now, I think. Swing out with everything. Moon Circuit back, the stutter. If I draw 2 islands here, that's not super great, I would say. Yeah. I could have gotten like a Dispel, theoretically, which would have been pretty good. Well, it's fine. Let's go ahead and just play this here now. Spell Pierce. Any one of those would have been fine. Miscreants and Spell Stutter. Miscreant as a blocker. Spell Stutter is interaction. We can have 3 points of interaction later. Let's just put them both on top. Alright. Threw away 1 Force Spike. I've got to imagine they probably only keep keep 1 more Force Spike here. Would I counterspell a Deep Analysis? I don't know. Delver's fine. 1, 2. They want me to burn the Sprite. Oh man, I kind of have to, don't I? I kind of have to. Because that is a funky tempo play. Wow, this is a crazy decision point here now. Do I block the Terror? If I don't block the Terror here, when do I block the Terror? One, two, 3 in the air that they can't block. 5 total. They get the Modern Age next turn. I think I have to do this. I think I have to eat the 5. I know one card that they have is Modern Age. They're going to get that back. Deep Analysis, they can't play comfortably, I think. Okay, I'm going to move to combat. I want to swing out with everything. Let's see if I'm genius or if I'm just really fucking dumb. Okay, there you go. I do 5 here at least. Alright, Miscreants. Play out here like this. I want to play the island here. Now I have to block here. They can't play the Deep Analysis. Do I let this consider resolve? I think so. Because I can't let another Terror resolve. This is fine too. Play an island. They can't Deep Analysis. 1, 2. They're getting dangerously low on time. Stutter on the Modern Age. Then even if they land a terror, I do have a counterspell. Played an island. Have to block the terror. 4 damage in the air. I think it's probably 3 and 2 damage in the air. Yeah, I think that's how we'd have to do it. We can only swing 3, block one of them. Basically, we have to do a little bit of hoping here, honestly. If we get another ninja, that's actually pretty good. We can use it to buy back probably a seer, I would say, at this stage, because we do have 2 counterspells. I think we're kind of hoping for either a ninja or something else here. Alright, terror. You have to swing the terror regardless, I think. Just to get rid of one of my blockers here, I think, right? Oh, you don't swing anything. No way. That seems wrong. Alright, I'll make it in combat. I'm just going to swing 4 in the air. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that, right? One of them gets through. Block on the terror. Even if you snap it back, I have a bunch of cards. I think mathematically this is correct. I think regardless of what you have, because I have 3 forms of interaction, even if you snap back the ninja, got the dispel for that, you have anything else. I'm still kind of chill here, I think. Yeah. 1. Do it. Snap it. You know you want to. This is fine. I think this is probably okay. Throw away a 4 spike. Okay, so now I know they have 2 4 spikes in the main. I think right now what we're thinking is that we bring in Dispel and 2 relics. Maybe that's it. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Cool. Alright. Do we play binds here? Or do we play annuls here? No matter what, let's just start with here. Bind the monster late might be okay against their They could snap their own creature back. That's not super great, I would say. But they can do it. Annuls might be better to be a proactive answer, but you would really need to have, like... Yeah, I don't know. Let's just start with this first. What do we pull back? We can pull back an Of One Mind. And we can pull back these 2 Pierces, I would say. This is sort of like a low to the ground deck too, so potentially we maybe, I don't know, we do want to have blockers. Do we take out the Snare Master sprites? Something like this. Is that correct? Snapping back a miscreant. It's pretty embarrassing. I think this is kind of how we go here. Yeah, this seems fine. We'll try it. Alright, Bind, Counterspell, Relic. This is about as good of a hand as we can keep here, I think. They probably... Oh. Okay, getting a little lucky here. Yeah, you don't have to do that at sorcery speed. You could just do that on my end step. Because what this does is that this lets me just Relic it away. Yeah, you see? You didn't have to do that at sorcery speed. Because if you had kept it up, I would have been more concerned about this getting force spiked potentially. Now you can't turn about terrors. I do have to worry about stuff like, I think here I have to worry at Force CMC about Murmuring Mystic. But I can just counterspell, hold up the spell. Those are all correct things I can do here. But turn 1 Relic is pretty good here. Oh, well, okay. Okay, alright, let's look at this match over here. We're on the draw here, so 2 Seers and a Moon Circuit Hacker. Perfectly fine. The most fragile card is probably of One Mind. You're probably okay to go Seer, Moon Circuit Hacker. If you get another island, I think it's probably fine to Moon Circuit Hacker here. But if you don't get an island off of your turn 1 or turn 2 draws, then I think it's more correct to play a Faerie Seer here. So let's see if we get a little lucky. But yeah, that's basically how we're going to go here. We keep here. They play Blue-Black Bridge here, so immediately you can pretty much think it's probably going to be Grixis Affinity. There are some Blue-Black funny builds that you'll see every now and again, some brews and stuff like that, but most of the time if you see a Blue-Black Bridge, you can be pretty confident that is going to be Affinity. Play this here. See what we get. You get Brinebarrow and Island. Put the Brinebarrow on the bottom, put the Island on top. Pretty safe, pretty safe, pretty safe. Yeah, you see? Play another bridge here, perfectly fine. Play Blood Fountain, not the greatest. Now, the Grixis Affinity list used to play Frogmites. Frogmites were pretty bad against ninjas, but you don't see them very often. I think, for the most part, Refurbished Familiar has taken the place of Frogmites, which is pretty good. The Grixis lists are tend to lean a little more blue and black. Because of Blood Fountains and stuff like that. The red is mostly for sideboard plans like Pyros and you know, like obviously the Galvanic Blast in the main. Some of them do also play like Breath Weapon, and you do need them for Krark and stuff like that. But Krark doesn't matter as much against the Flyers here. So yeah, draw Ninja, pretty good draw here. And then we can Moon Circuit Hacker here pretty safely because we don't have to worry, because we did draw that turn 2 land off of the first Faerie Seer scry. Draw another island, pretty good. Now you can play the Faerie Seer again. And now you see Moon Circuit Hacker and Stutter. Juggling the hackers is pretty decent. It does make you a little bit more vulnerable to Krarks, I think. But it's not bad. Stutter is probably better to keep. You do have a turn 3 island. I think the correct move here is probably to bottom the hacker and top the sprite. Because there are, you do have 2 other Seers and sorry, 2 other fairies here, I think. You don't really need the hacker because you already have Ninja the Deep Hours here. I think that's what we end up doing, is that we put the that on the bottom, and then they just play another bridge here. Pretty safe here. They don't play anything else here. Okay, so this is what we can think about here. They have 2 mana open, including black. They can probably Deadly Dispute here on the blood token. In that case, keeping the stutter on top is pretty good. Because if they go Dispute here on the blood token, then you don't have to you can do it pretty safely because they don't have another red up for Galvanic Blast to reduce your fairy count. I think what we can do here then is play the island and then play the Of One Mind pretty safely, which is what we do here. You kind of want to play the Of One Mind on turn on your pre-combat phase, because sometimes they want to get a little cheeky and blow up one of your creatures in the middle of combat. In this case, since you only have 1 human and you only have 1 non-human, that means that you can't really play Of One Mind. You want to keep the cards flowing. Now here we have 7 cards to their 5, and did they went first and they kept on 7. So in that instance, and we did get them with a ninja hit over here, so that does explain the difference. But here, even though I'm on the draw, I'm up 2 cards to their 5 right now, and that's not bad. So swinging with both here, and we can't really ninja anything right now. It's not a great move. 1, if they cast down here, not great. 2, if they do Deadly Dispute or something like that here, not great. Besides, we want to react to what they do here. So we swing with both. Pretty good. They didn't kill anything. Okay, now we have 4 other fairies in addition to Spellstutter Sprite. And so I think the correct thing here is to get rid of the Miscreant because we don't have a second Miscreant in hand. Snare Master Sprite is already better than 1 Miscreant. And we don't need to draw more cards anyways because we're at 7 anyways. So that's the reason why it's pretty safe to just discard the Miscreant. And we do need to have that land later. And now here we see the Dispute. So, instinctively, stuttering them is probably the correct move. There is a universe where it may not be correct here, but it's probably the right move. If, for example, what are the things that we're concerned about? Probably correct doesn't matter. Mirror Enforcer might matter, because snapping it back and then having them play for free is pretty bad, and this stops the ninjas. Another one that could be pretty bad would be Refurbished Familiar. But you can just, at this point, you can probably just trade the Moon Circuit Hacker with a Refurbished Familiar pretty okay, and not worry too much. And if you just hold back your fairies, that's probably fine. But we don't really want them to increase their artifact count, for one thing. They already reduced it for us. And yeah. Let's say, for example, they go up to 5 cards. They play a land. They're at 5. They play a Blood Fountain. They're they draw a card. They go up to 5, right? They play a land, 5 artifacts on the field, 4 cards in hand. They play like another Blood Fountain or something like that. And we can't respond to it, then they go up to 7. Then they play, like, in the absolute wildest case, they play 2 Mirror Enforcers. Now, that's pretty bad, but that would require them to have, like, basically the exact correct cards in hand. An even worse line would be, let's see, Artifact, Refurbished Familiar, let me backtrack a little bit. They go, Artifact Land, Refurbished Familiar, having us discard a card. So that goes up to 6, and then they go Mirror Enforcer, Mirror Enforcer, Mirror Enforcer. That would be pretty terrible. But yeah, regardless, we have to do the Dispute here, because if we don't do the Dispute here, they get a treasure and they can draw more cards, which actually increases the chances of them getting that stupid line anyways. So by doing this, you kind of basically force them to hope. They Gallblast the Stutter. This is pretty good for us, actually. They're not Gallblasting a Ninja. And then they Dispute here on the Blood Fountain, which is even better for us, honestly. Yes, they draw cards, but now this means that they don't have redundancies. One of the strongest advantages of Grixis Affinity is their ability to bring back creatures that you counter or not really kill, but maybe trade for. You know what I mean? So, yeah, then they go red here, and they go Shaman here. Again, not super great. Let me tell you why. Because they have to sack their lands to get rid of the Moon Circuit Hacker proactively, and I don't care. I'll just swing. You want to trade and stuff like that? That's fine. It doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? Because it means that then you can't do it later, and because you already disputed away your Blood Fountain, you can't bring it back easily. Draw Pierce here. Pierce is fine, actually. Pierce is pretty good because, let's say, for example, they don't get a like they only get more bridges here. If they Ichor Wellspring, Pierce it. That's not bad here, actually. You know what I mean? So, as you can see here, I just swing in with Abandon. I don't care. You want to trade? Not bad. You know what I mean? I can get rid of the Quark, and if you don't, then I do damage. That's good for me too, honestly. I'll draw a card here. Now, there is one mistake I did make here. I think it probably would have been more correct to have played a Faerie Seer so that I could have a better chance of getting what I want off the Moon Circuit Hacker. Realistically, the only good card that I could get here would be like a Dispel or another Pierce, because then I can go Counterspell, Pierce, Dispel. You know what I mean? That's really the only thing. But on the other hand, if I don't get that, if I just get like another island or something like that, for example, then I could have mitigated some of that by just playing a Seer. You know what I mean? It's fine, I think. And is he getting another ninja here? This is kind of a tough spot. You don't really want to discard the ninjas, but you also don't really need them. But I don't know. Having two ninjas is a little, keeping two deep hours is a little greedy, I think. I think you could either throw away one of your two ofs, either a Seer or a ninja. Between the two of them, I'm more inclined to say throw away a ninja, because just for greed factor, it's 2 CMC. And I throw away a Seer here. That's a little bit greedy, I think. Especially if you're going to play a Seer here. Now, you could double ninja for a 2-turn clock theoretically, but one more thing. Another thing is that the reason why you don't want to keep two ninjas, the Quark. The Quark can get rid of the ninjas on the ground, and that's pretty bad too, you see. I put 2 on top. Probably what I put on top was like I could play Island, you know what I mean? I think probably Island on top is probably better, because if they get rid of the Moon Circuit Hacker over here, playing of one Mind for 3 CMC is not great. Black for Spell Bomb, just to give him something to sack. Play the Island, and again here, you can just swing. It doesn't matter. Trading for the Quark Clan Shaman's not the end of the world. And here they go ahead and do it. Go for black, just do that here. Now, this is a funny little point here. I think the objectively correct time to do this would be after blocks, before the damage phase, to basically see if I ninja here. I don't know about the timing of it, but as you can see here, I can just do this. I just ninja afterwards. Now in this case, this is sort of why having 2 of them is fine here. And they concede here probably because I'm in a winning spot. Even if I don't do anything else, I do still have Counterspell and Pierce. That's pretty good here. If you want to get super greed and they Galvanic Blast on the ninja, then you could actually ninja again. And then still keep up Spell Pierce for like a Wellspring on their next turn. But yeah, realistically speaking, this is not super great for them. They're on 3 lands while I'm on 5. It's turn 5. I've made all my land drops. They've missed some land drops here. And they Crackland Shamans away just one of my guys, and yeah, this is not a great spot for them. So conceding here is probably fine. They have a maybe like a 15-second advantage right now. Sometimes the games can get a little grindy, and so having that time advantage does make some amount of sense. So, all right, let's see what happens in game 2. All right, back here in game 2, we took out 4 snaps, a Pierce, an Elven Mind, and 2 Snare Master Sprites for a total of, 8 cuts. And we added 8 cards. We added 4 Blue Elemental Blasts, 2 Relics, 1 Dispel, and 1 Steel Sabotage. Now, I'm pretty sure that's not the correct decision to have made. We probably could have just ignored the the red elemental blast and brought in a nulls. I have a sort of, I guess, what's the word for it? A PTSD, I guess, surrounding red wipes. And which is probably the reason why I brought in the blue the blue elemental blast. I just kind of I don't know, railroaded myself into it, but annuls is the correct play here. I only brought in the steel sabotages because they're really good for getting rid of the bouncing back the lands on turn 1. It's also good for, you know, getting rid of most of their plays and stuff like that. But annuls are good too. I think in retrospect, I probably should have ignored the blue elemental blast and just played annuls instead. That probably is the correct sideboard plan. I think the way to get around the wipes is just not to overcommit, really. You know, a lot of the Grixis affinity lists, there is just kind of air to draw more cards. If they can't resolve a threat, and if they can't recur the threat, because you're bringing in annuls and relics, then the rest of the deck doesn't really do that much. The only reason why you would really want to have a blue elemental blast is for makeshift munitions. Now, most affinity lists only run one makeshift in the main. Some of them might run a second in the side, but the lists used to actually run 2 in the main. Since the Fairies decks and the Call Gates decks are less popular these days, you can sort of take advantage of that to a degree. And in any case, even if they did play makeshift munitions, you can still annul it. Yeah, so for those reasons, that's the reason why it's probably fine to not worry about the blue elemental blasts. They would basically have to show you that they have breath weapons before you have to worry about bringing blue elemental blasts. Another good thing to use them for is if they resolve threats and they use Galvanic Blast to go at you a face. But honestly, at that point, it's kind of over anyways, you know? So, yeah, I think for that reason, instead of bringing the 4 blue elemental blasts, bringing 4 nulls is objectively the correct decision. Now, let's turn to the mulligan decision here. Opponent keeps 7. Useless. Useless. A 1 mana play, and that's it. A 1 land. This is for sure throwback for 6. Okay, now let's look at this. Not great either. You can put back an island. You do have a steel sabotage. You do have a blue elemental blast, and you have a ninja, but you can't really do anything with just a ninja. I think this is a correct mult of 5 here. Oh, but I keep it. Probably because I'm thinking I just bounce back the land? I don't know. That seems a little dicey, but okay. Let's see if I get lucky. I think objectively that's correct. It will be actually correct to have gone to 5 there. And then play Furnace here. And I get a little lucky here. I get, honestly, more than a little lucky. I get a turn 1. I get a Miscreant. Now, I don't know. Let's see. What did I keep here? In my main board, I kept I mean, obviously I kept all the Miscreants. So 4 Miscreants, 4 Seers, for Brinebarrows for a total of 12, you could theoretically think that you can keep them. Blue Elemental Blast, probably the objectively incorrect thing to do here actually would be to play the Miscreant. Because if they 1-for-1 on the Miscreant here, then you don't have a Ninja plan anymore. And you really need to be able to keep up Blue Elemental Blast if you know, now that you have it to get rid of any sort of Galvanic Blast. Get a little lucky here. Opponent doesn't have a turn 2 play. Wow. Is that what happened here? Maybe that's the only reason why I won. Oh well. Spoiler alert, I do win this game too here. But I play the Miscreant here and do nothing else, but I do keep up a response for any sort of potential way to do this. Now, as you notice there, I did not still sabotage the land back. Right now my plan is to keep the Miscreants so that I can Ninja here. If they Galvanic Blast on my Ninja, I can Blue Elemental Blast it back. So I need to not allow the Miscreant to die, and I need to hold up interaction for any sort of Galvanic Blast. They must have kept this hand because they have some good interaction. Also, the other thing is that opponent, when they're playing red, they could totally be playing Pyro. So now we Ninja here. Let's see if they have interaction for this. And they do, you see? They Pyro. Oh, they Red Elemental. Whatever. I'm just going to call these Pyros to make it easier. And I guess I can call it Hydros as well now, too. So can just Hydro it back now. Great. I can get that in there. Get that in there. It's pretty good. Now, even if they go turn 3, Refurbish Familiar, I do just have an island I can throw away here. And then, yeah, you see, they turn 3, Refurbish Familiar here. Throw away an island. Now, here I think I make some amount of mistake. I'm pretty sure I trade these two, actually, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, you see, I just trade it. Realistically, this isn't the best move to make here. The only advantage of doing it like this is that it keeps their artifact count low. They are incentivized to trade here. Do get a little bit of luck, I guess, that way. And if they play something like if they play something like Blood Fountain, we can just Steel Sabotage it back, but I think realistically the better thing to do here would be to just play Steel Sabotage on the bridge. Do I do that? Oh, you see, I get even luckier. I can go I can just go on full-on greed here, play Relic, play Steel Sabotage. I know that they missed their turn 2 land here. Good, this is going to be going to turn 5, and if they're only on 2 lands on turn 5, that's not great. So yeah, there you go. And then play Relic here. Get rid of the card. Get rid of the Red Elemental Blast. And I have a Flying Clock. They're forced to replay the bridge here. It's great. And yeah. And now what this allows me to do is that I can get rid of the fam with my Relic. That's great. Here, I still have an island. I don't play the island. Just bluff. A lot of this deck is bluffing. They got 6 cards. I have 2 cards. But I do have a counterspell. So the correct move here is to just bluff. Bluff interaction. They don't know. It's an island. It could be a stutter. 2. And they go for a Wellspring. If you had stutter here, this would be a fine stutter target. It increases your clock. You know what I mean? And Wellsprings are basically 2 cards. Draw a card. Swing both here. Play Seer here. You get Of One Mind and Moon Circuit Hacker. These are both great plays. You just put them both on top here, right? Of One Mind on the bottom, Moon Circuit Hacker on the top. Familiar. Now, you basically are forced to counter this, I think. You don't really have to counter it, but it does force them into something. This is actually another good reason to keep the island. If they pyro this counterspell, you just discard an island. That's fine. And they do pyro it. I think... Remember what I said earlier about just bringing in nulls instead of like hydroblast and stuff like that? It's possible that if you see... Like, I've seen 2 hydroblasts out of the opponent at this point, or 2 pyroblasts out of the opponent at this point. In that instance, maybe a 3-3 split of nulls to hydros might be more correct here. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see here. I don't know. Maybe the relic doesn't matter. We'll have to see how much these sorts of things matter, I guess. They resolve the fam. I get rid of the pyro here. I discard an island. That's another reason to keep cards in the hand against Refurbished Familiar, just so that you can have useless cards to throw away here. Now, they're at 6 cards. I'm at 1, but they don't know that I'm a 1 card as Ninja. All right, now if I swing both of these here, they block the... The correct blocking decision actually is the Miscreant, I would say. Because that basically means they can't Ninja on the Miscreants. But they really, no matter what, they have to block, I think, here. Because if they don't block, I Ninja anyways. But by blocking in the Miscreant, you can prevent me from drawing 1 additional card. Oh, they don't block here. No blocks. Do they want to keep artifacts on board? That makes sense. All right. Moon Circuit Hacker here doing 4 damage. They go down to 10. Now, life total here should not matter as much. You can't. It can be quite difficult to race Grixis Affinity because they have Reckoner's Bargain, so they can Reckoner's away the Wellspring, they can Reckoner's away the Refam, any number of those things. Also, the other thing is that if they trade, I can just Relic it away. Play the Of One Mind, draw another card. Draw 2 cards, I mean. And this is another great situation. You have Stutter, you have Blue Elemental Blast. If, for example, they have Breath Weapon, let's just say, for example, they have Breath Weapon, or they have Makeshift Munitions. I mean, Munitions actually is much worse here. I think what I'd probably do is that if they slam Munitions on turn 8, I would say I'd probably try to Stutter it. If they have some sort of interaction for the Stutter, then I could Blue Elemental Blast it. Any of those things are probably okay here. Oh, I just replayed the Miscreant. Oh, that's very aggressive. That's very aggressive. In retrospect, I don't know if that's correct. I get a little lucky here because the Spell Pierce is a little more generically useful. But I think realistically, the more correct play would probably be to have kept the Stutter up. Maybe what I was concerned about was them killing the Miscreant so that this other one is just a flying 1/1 instead of like a cantripping 1/1. Remember what I said about Reckoner's Bargain? If they Reckoner's Bargain a Mirror Enforcer, that's really good. They go over here for Wellspring, which is the generically correct play to make. Luckily, I do have a Spell Pierce. This just super luck here, honestly. But realistically, a Spell Stutter on there would have been fine too, I think. They don't swing here. I should Relic away a card. Do I remember to do that? And I don't. Okay, so just always try to remember to Relic on your opponent's end step if you forget. Now we have 2 Stutters here. Quite good. Yeah, you see. If I had remembered to Relic on their end step, then they would have 0 in the grave. Sometimes that might matter for something like Extract the Confession. That is something. Now here I hold back a Moon Circuit Hacker. Because I remember now that, like, you know, if they trade here, which is what they're incentivized to do. Oh, and they don't here. Wow, okay. Another bit of luck here. Thoughtcast, 5 CMC, super aggressive play would be to do double Stutter here, but not the correct play, I would say. If they go Cast into the Fire, get rid of both Stutters, that's embarrassing. Okay, so here they go for Familiar. This is actually pretty good, though. They leave up a red for Pyro, but I have a blue. right? So I I can attempt to stutter here, and even if they have another pyro, I can attempt to stutter again. Oh, Electrickery is another one of those things where if they have 2 red open, that's really bad. But that doesn't happen as much anymore. So they go Pyro here, and between these two, you could play Blue Elemental or Stutter here, but I think the correct thing to do here is to play the Blue Elemental Blast, because it's more restrictive. In cases where you have 2 different counterspell effects, always do the one that's more restrictive. Because if you think back, if they somehow get another Thought cast out, you could theoretically stutter it. You can stutter another familiar. You can stutter their blood fountains. So in those instances, having the blue elementals is correct here. Now we've seen 1, 2, 3 pyro effects, and we have 1. We've played out 2 of ours. So I don't know. Maybe it might be more correct to play out blue elementals. Maybe if the opponent plays, I guess it. Yeah, I don't know. A 3-3 split maybe between annuls and blue elementals might be more correct here. I don't know. It's hard to say for me. It's hard to say. It's a tough spot. It's a tough decision to make. Play the Alpha Mind, perfectly fine. We can safely swing in with everything. With the Alpha Mind, we get another spell. We get another spell stutter, and we get another Seer here. Swing with everything. And again, I hold back the Moon Circuit. I guess if they block here, they go to 4. Yeah. This is actually probably correct. I block here. They go to 4. They don't have another creature to play. Swing with everything, they die. They block the Moon Circuit Hacker. Take everything else, they go to 3. Still probably die next turn, but they could have another untap red, breath weapon, and some sort of like pyro effect. Those are all things that could happen. I think here actually it might have been fine to swing in with the Moon Circuit Hacker. So that's another tiny little mistake, I think. Realistically, I think this game was hinged on the fact that it didn't have a turn 2 land. They probably had maybe 2 pyro effects to start out with, and they go 3 here. For breath weapon, yeah, you see this breath weapon here maybe in retrospect made my decision to board in 4 blue elemental blast correct, especially with their what's it called, density of pyro of like pyro effects here. I saw and used 2 of them. I don't know. I think I only took out 1 Spell Pierce. Yeah, I only took out 1 Spell Pierce. I think it might have been correct to take out another Spell Pierce, actually, and make room for more annuls, maybe. There is some sort of math, maybe, if doing 4 Hydro effects and 2 annuls, or 3 Hydro effects and 3 annuls. You could potentially change how you board in Game 3, depending on how the opponent, depending on how much you see of the opponent boarding in Game 2. There's a lot of it's sort of like instinct and feel. Now, obviously, this game's over. I just stutter here. I mean, I won't sandbag this. I just stutter here, and then they win. And then I win. You know what I mean? There's something else. Because I have the clock. Yeah. I think in retrospect, I said not having any blue elemental blasts and just playing annuls may have been more correct, but seeing how the opponent has sideboarded here, I don't know. Maybe I was a genius. Grixis will usually play something like 5 Hydro effects and 5 Pyro effects in the sideboard. That appears to be what the opponent's done here. Breath weapon, especially seeing the breath weapon here, does actually validate my decision to bring in all 4 hydro effects. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just backdoored my way into being a genius, because the initial reaction would be just to bring in the annuls. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Anyways, I win. Ho ho. Woo! That's it. All right, game 1. This is a fine hand, I guess. You can go a slightly more aggressive game plan if you just play Miscreant, replace them and stuff like that. You also have openings for Counterspell. One Mind here is a little useless without human. But at least you have a turn 1 flyer, and that's usually what you want to start out with. So, Miscreant here. If we can get a little lucky, then we can get the Ninja next turn, potentially. Here, I do know that the opponent is playing Izzet Terror. Again, these are replays. And right off the bat, you see that they fetch for Volatile Fjord. Volatile Fjord. There's a bunch of words. Whatever. It's the blue-red snow land. Also, the fact that they're playing snow-covered lands, you know, typically means that they're playing some sort of spread build. So let's see what there is. At this point, you know, given they're playing blue-red, they could be playing Terror, or they could be playing Fairies. You can't really know until they play more cards, really. I play a Miscreant here. It seems fairly safe, I think. Given the fact that they're playing blue-red, they could theoretically play Untapped Mountain and then just kill the Miscreants that I already have on board. That'd be pretty bad, because the Fairy Miscreants by themselves as 1 flyers, they don't do too much. You really want to use them to snowball advantage, but, you know, obviously you can't use them for Counterspell. And that's sort of okay. I don't really want to Counterspell this Ponder anyways, I think. Maybe if I had Spell Stutter, I would try to do that, but here I don't think it matters. So, alright. And then they just play the Fjord, does nothing else. You do see they just draw the card, they don't shuffle. So that's fine. I'm keeping the chat log open here, and decided not to hide the names anymore, because, I don't know, it's not that big of a deal. Hopefully no one gets mad. Alright, so swing with 2 Miscreants, start doing the damage. And then I just play the Of One Mind here. It's unlikely that they're going to have a Sweeper on turn 3. And if they do that anyways, it's not that big of a deal. I mostly just didn't want to get a Counterspell, and I don't have another human. And, yeah, it's not the greatest play, but it's okay, I guess. I don't know. I suppose maybe I just want to continue pressing my advantage. That might be the answer. I don't know. In retrospect, let's see if it's a bad idea. They play Augur. Augur's pretty bad for ninjas, honestly. They block both of the ninjas, and obviously they kill Moonsacred Hacker. So let's see how this goes here. I do have 3 of One Minds. That may end up mattering. Or, I had 2 of One Minds. So playing 1 at 3 CMC maybe wasn't terrible. Alright, draw the ninja. Let's see if I swing here. Well, obviously I swing here. Let's just see if I ninja here, sorry. Let's see what happens here. And I do. Okay, pull 1 back. Now, if they go to kill the ninja here, I could obviously counterspell this. And it looks like I do. Draw the card. Now, my shields are down, and with the Augur, it's unlikely for me to be able to get in another hit with the ninja. So let's see what happens. 6 cards to 7, but I have more lands out. Brainstorm. Okay. Now, at this point, I still don't know if they're playing... Oh, they get rid of the Miscreant here. I guess it keeps my fairy count down, and it also prevents me from replaying the miscreant. That's pretty heads up, actually. Pretty smart. Obviously here I can't play the can't swing the ninja, but I can play the miscreant, and then I can just play 2 of 1 mines. That's pretty good, honestly. Do I not play the second one? What's going on here? Did I forget? Or did I see that I have Pierce and Stutter and I want to keep that up? Maybe that makes a little more sense. Let's see here. They fetch with the landscape. Let's say, for example, they get a mountain. Kill spell, 6 cards in hand. They draw up to 7 next turn. 2 cards down. Kill spell. 2 kill spells. Stutter on the first. Pierce on the second, maybe? Let's see here. Yeah, I think that's probably the reason why I didn't play Of One Mind. Let's see what they get for it. Okay, yeah, you see, they do get the untapped mountain. Alright. Brainstorm here. Should I stutter this? I let it go. Okay, now at this point, every single point prior to this, it could have been fairies. The fact that they're playing Terror probably is a Terror deck. Now, you can use Terror as a finisher, as a 1 or 2 finisher in Izzet Fairies. I've done that before. But I go to counter this because I'm confident they don't have Blue Elemental Blast, and if they have some sort of kill spell here on the Ninja, then that's fine. And honestly, the Ninja doesn't do anything right now anyways, so. Alright, Faerie Seer. Seer's good here, I think. Play out my 6 islands here. Play out Of One Mind. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Play out a Faerie Seer. That should make the Moon Circuit Hacker a better hit. And now with 2 ninjas here. So I think ideally here what we do is that we put Moon Circuit Hacker that we saw off the Seer on top, because you can juggle the Moon Circuit Hackers. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then having another Spell Stutter is good for interaction. I think we're probably pretty safe here with a Spell Stutter and a Pierce. I think we can pretty much only get got if they play another Terror. That would be my guess here. So let's see here. Alright. Swing just the Miscreant. Let's see if I Moon Circuit Hacker. And I don't. I guess the thing, you see, this is sort of the issue with mono blue, or not an issue so much, but like there are a bunch of decision points. You could Spell Stutter here, nab a 3-mana spell, snap the Spell Stutter back, nab a different spell, potentially. So let's see what happens here. Let's see what I ended up doing here. I really thought I was going to Moon Circuit Hacker back, back then. Alright, I stutter the Ponder instead, because they're searching for something. They wouldn't play the Ponder out if they weren't searching. So, they play out another Terror here. Okay, that's fine. But at this point, I do have a lot of blockers. And they go to Bolt the Stutter. And this is actually kind of great. I can just Pierce here. Anything to do with the Pierce? Oh, but I snap it back. Okay, I guess just to give something to do with the snaps, because snapping back the opponent's Augur doesn't do much. And if I snap back the Terror, they can just replay it again for 1 mana. I think that makes sense. Play the land. Swing with Seer and Miscreant. We're going to Moon Circuit Hacker back the Seer. And then that'll also let us replay the Seer. We know what's on top. We can use it to go grab the second Moon Circuit Hacker. That's pretty good. And then we play the Seer here. Alright, so we had Brinebarrow and we had Ninja. So we put Brinebarrow. We can put them both on top, technically, I guess. But we want Ninja on topper, I'm guessing here. No, we put Brinebarrow on the bottom. Okay, that's interesting. Do we put Brinebarrow on the bottom? I think in that situation, I would have probably put Ninja on top. Oh man, what am I looking for here? I wonder why I did that. Let's see. Maybe I just want to be able to push damage. Maybe I'm looking for interaction. But Ninja's also good too. Alright, let's see here. We can absorb the first terror hit. That's not a big deal. If we put Brinebarrow on the bottom, Ninja on top, then that's just because we're trying to push advantage. So we play out the Stutter, stop the Augur. Again, Augur prevents our ninjas from hitting. And they do another Brainstorm. Stutter here is actually really good, because if you Stutter here, then you can Ninja both of them back with the Moon Circuit Hacker and the second Ninja of the Deep Hours. Wow, look at me. I'm just such a genius, I guess. Watch this. Watch this. I hope I'm as smart as I think I am. Swing with everything. They block one of the ninjas. Probably Moon Circuit Hacker. And then we Ninja back both the Spell Sprites. Spell Stutter Sprites. Whatever. Spell Sprites. That's what I'm calling them now. We do so much damage here. So to the point where I don't think that they can really come back from this. Because we can play an island. Even if they Breath Weapon here, you Spell Stutter the Breath Weapon. And if they, say for example, have another land that they can play, then you can just Spell Pierce their interaction. Okay, and that's why they conceded there. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so we got a quick game 1 win here, and now let's see what happens in game 2. Okay, so we're back here for game 2. As you can see, we -1 snap, -2 spell pierce, -2 relic, or sorry, -2 one mind. So that's -5, and we also -2'd Snare Master Sprite. So that's a total of 7 cuts, and there's going to be 7 adds. So we added 4 blue elemental blast, 2 relics, and 1 dispel. Dispel is just better interaction than the spell pierce. Blue elemental blast is just going to be needed for the wipes, and if they're going to be boarding in red wipes, and they're also going to be boarding in red LEs. So, you know, might as well just try to counter them there. And relics should be pretty self-explanatory. It's just kind of there to prevent them from turboing out terrors. Yeah. I think it's a relatively logical sideboard. I don't think it's too many mistakes, so let's see what happens here. Alright, first hand, this is pretty good. You can Faerie Seer turn 1, Moon Circuit back, play the Faerie Seer back again. That's kind of aggressive. They have untap red, that's probably not the best thing to do. Honestly, even if they have any red, really shouldn't do that anyways, but let's go ahead and keep it because it's a good hand. Alright, they play Perilous Landscape. Pretty good. That means that we don't have to worry about red LE. Draw a ninja. Okay, so we really probably should just put out a Seer here. We can use it for finding another land. Let's see what we do. Get an island and another Moon Circuit Hacker. In this situation, you obviously keep the island on top. You need to make your land drops versus blue decks. I think I probably should put their hacker back. Let's see if I'm smart here. Okay, good. I'll put the hacker on the bottom, and I'll put island on top. That's the right move. Right move. Okay, and they Lorien here. Oh, okay. That's not bad. They keep on 7, I keep on 7. That makes sense. They Lorien for an island, and what does that let them do? That lets them get an Augur. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty bad for me. All right, let's see what happens here. Play an island. Swing with Faerie Seer. And then we just play out the Moon Circuit Hacker. Let's see how smart I am. We get a blue Elemental Blast. This is pretty good. Do we play out the Seer or do we hold up a blue Elemental Blast? Clearly we just play the Seer. I think that makes sense because the Moon Circuit Hacker's already done its job. We don't really need to keep it. Again, Island, Ninja, the Deep Hours. Put the Island on top, need to hit the land drops. Ninja, I think if we're disciplined, we put the Ninja on the bottom. Yep, bottom the Ninja, top the Island. Let's see if I'm smart. Brainstorm. Okay, that's good. Our interaction right now, this is basically what we're looking at. That's not terrible. This is pretty decent. Counterspell, blue Elemental Blast. It's pretty good. Alright. Then you throw away another Lorien. Okay. Okay. Pretty good. Pretty good so far. Fjord. Just play the Fjord. Now this opens up the possibility of Breath Weapon turn. Next turn. So we swing with a Seer. Just want to hold up all types of interaction. There are only 3 in the graveyard. Don't really have to worry about that right now. Neither of us does anything. Just play another Brinebarrow here. Okay, that's not bad. That means that we can probably swing in with everything next turn. And be pretty happy. Alright, okay. Snap is not the greatest draw here. You can do it in response to removal. You can do it to rebuy back in ETB. But that's really all it's good for is rebuying back in ETB because the opponent's stuff isn't really great to snap back. I think in retrospect, putting in Bind the Monster and taking out snaps might be more correct. It's also good for saving 1 creature versus a wipe. Alright, swinging everything. Block Ninja. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, putting in a second Hacker. That's pretty good. And I don't want to overcommit and just keep a Moon Circuit Hacker. I don't think that makes too much sense. Okay, so now we got Brinebarrow back to hands. We got Dispel. So we're pretty safe against wipes here, I think. We can hold up Counterspell versus a Terror. And I don't think they're going to be turboing out a Terror just yet here. It would have needed to like Mental Note or some other stuff. But is it Terror builds typically don't intend to turbo out a Terror. Most of the time what they want to do is that they want to control the game, naturally build up the number of cards necessary to get out Terror. They bolt here. We have a couple different responses here. The ones that make the most sense are probably Blue Elemental Blast or Dispel. Or we could always just let it go. And we do just let it go. It doesn't matter for us, I guess, is what I get out of that. We want to hold up for Sweepers? I think that makes a lot of sense. I guess. I don't know. It's hard to say. We could have just snapped it back there too, but I don't think it matters too much. Maybe the opponent was worried about us ninjaing again for a bunch. Now at this point, I have 5 lands. The opponent has 4 lands. 6 cards in hand. They drop to 7. Let's see. I can really only peck them, and it's not great clock. It's not a great clock. This is turn 5, and they're only down. It's going to be 13. Oh, like a ninja here. I guess the idea here is that they can only bolt the ninja or spread the ninja or whatever. The point is that they really only have red responses that can handle this. I could blue elemental or dispel. Any one of those is probably reasonable. In this instance, I think blue elemental is probably the most necessary to do here, because you also want to use the spells for their counter spells too. In any case, those can also handle their sweepers. Draw a card. Now we got 2 counter spells. They have 5 instants or sorceries in the graveyard now. Now, if I try to counterspell the terror, I don't have anything else for dealing with their counterspell. Scred here. Yeah, allowing the Scred to go through makes sense, I think. Because if they get terror out here, which... Oh, no, yeah, that's right. There you go, you see? I'm so smart. Let's see how smart I really am. I counterspell the terror. But if they have a counterspell, I can't dispel, and that's really terrible. Hey, look at that, I got a little lucky. Oh. Yeah, second terror is pretty bad. And snap does nothing here, really. Alright, so they're at 2 cards. I'm at 4 cards here. Alright, now I'm at Seer and Stutter. There is a potential to just get kind of lucky and hope to just peck him to death in the air. Counterspell, Moon Circuit Hacker. I definitely want both of them. I have 5 lands. I think realistically I put Counterspell top, Moon Circuit Hacker on top of it. So we draw both, but I want to draw the Hacker first, because I need to turbo out damage. As much as I can anyways. I can absorb a Terra hit. They're going to start swinging in 6 here. They've used 1 bolt. They could also potentially fire and ice. So at some point we will have to consider math, but not just yet, rightly. Alright. There is a world where snapping back the Augur of Bolas makes some sense, but they just get to buy it back. On the other hand, if I was able to snap back the Augur of Bolas, they're at 3 cards in hand. Yeah, I don't know. I could have juggled the ninjas. That would have been really good. Yeah, it's potentially possible that what I should have done is I should have just snapped back the Augur on their end of turn, so I could Moon Circuit Hacker in and then juggle them both. That would have been somewhat reasonable, I think, realistically. I just do the common thing here of just Moon Circuit Hackering here. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe juggling would have made sense. Oh, they're going to do something I don't like. Oh, yeah. Cast is also really terrible because a lot of these are 1 toughness spells. I could try to dispel here. This is another danger of ninjaing back all your fairies, because sometimes the fairy count matters. Oh no. Yeah. Oh, that's a backbreaker. We do have a counter spell, and I think ideally we really should just play it here. Yeah. There it goes. Alright, then I draw with the Moon Circuit Hacker. And then I should just play the Faerie Seer here. I should just play it here. And I do. Okay, yeah. Reasoning is that, okay, Dispel Faerie Seer. Anyways, the reason why I should play the Faerie Seer here is because I'm going to die to the Terror. So I need to push damage. And, yeah, that's really what it is. I'm going to die to the... I'm going to die to the, to Terror if I don't push damage. We got Dispel and Faerie Seer. I think we do kind of want them both. I would say probably put Seer and then Dispel on top. In that order. Because there's no point Searing first if you already know what the next card underneath is a Dispel. Yeah. Ponder. Okay, they're digging too. That's something. They're digging for another wipe. That's something, at least. Oh, they play another Augur. Second Augur is also really bad because that stops us from the push the damage plan. Oh, and they get another breath weapon. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. We do have a Dispel, so that's something here. They're swinging with both here. This is not the correct play. I go to block their Terror. This is a little too early. I can just take the 6, eat the 6, go down to 8. If I can just snap the Augur, then I can push in 5 damage and start... Yeah, I can just push in for 5 damage. I should have not have blocked here. That was the wrong move here. And then they go Scredding here. Oh, well. No, ultimately I shouldn't have blocked there. That was still incorrect either way, no matter what. This is another point where I make a mistake. I could have just snapped back the Augur. And what else did I put on top? It was a Seer. I could... If I have the Seer, I would probably... Damn, this is... Yeah, I really should have just snapped the Augur of Bolas at some point. Realistically, I think the Bind the Monsters are probably better than Augur here. Sorry, than Snap here in a lot of cases, because binding the Augur is actually relatively okay. And I go ahead and just block the Terror here again. Yeah, this is an instance where I just... Yeah, I don't know. Snapping back the Hacker isn't the greatest, I think, honestly. Because I know they have Breath Weapon in hand. Even if I play out the Sprite. Yeah. This is an indication where, or an example, where I'm not giving myself the best chance to win. I'm trying to slow myself from losing, but not giving myself the best chance to win. In retrospect, snapping the Augur earlier is probably the best I can do here. Maybe I got kind of discouraged seeing multiple Augurs. It's possible. It's possible. Play out the Seer. I hope I didn't forget about the breath weapon that they found earlier. Now I find a Brinebarrow and a Faerie Seer. This isn't really what I need. This isn't really what I need. I need a way to continue pushing damage if I want to win. Yeah. I would basically need ninjas. I think I just put them both on the bottom. Yeah, and I do. Alright, cool. That makes sense. There you go. Swing. I know one of the cards that they have is a breath weapon. Moon Circuit here. Even if they breath weapon, I should have Dispel. Dispel. If they have anything else, I still have Stutter. Swing for, get in for 3, but I could have gotten in for, I think, more damage earlier, so either way, not the best move. Alright, now if they swing in 6 more damage, oh. Do they have something else for... I mean, obviously I have to counterspell here. Murmur Mystic plus the Terror is really bad against... is really bad for me. Play Misgreen here. Swing with Seer. Coming down to 7, but if I had snapped the Augur Bolus earlier, they would be a couple more down, and then a race case could possibly work out here. Yeah, there were a bunch of instances earlier where I just blocked the Terror a little early, I guess. I guess probably out of fear. You can't play... You can play mono Blue Fairies from a perspective of caution, but not out of fear. You still, in a lot of ways, you still have to think about... in certain instances, you still have to think about, I need to aggro down the opponent. Now, they play the Murmur Mystic here. This is basically game over at this point because I don't have enough fairies to get through enough damage. But I could have, maybe earlier. Got through more damage, and then maybe that wouldn't have been as big of a deal. Now, if I... a little bit of luck. Seer here. Ninja back one of them. Play an island, play another Faerie Seer, block one of the terrors. Ultimately, yeah, you see, that thing about not snapping back the auger earlier, it's coming back to bite me now. It was counterspell snap on top. Realistically, I should put counterspell snap on top in that order, so I should draw the snap next. If I get lucky, maybe I can push the damage. If I don't get lucky, they make a flyer. I need to block the terror here with a Faerie Seer, otherwise I just die. And then... oh, they don't swing the Murmur Mystic. There's no reason not to, really, I guess. I think. Yeah, there's no real reason, no good reason not to, I think, really. Just block there so I don't die. Even if they bolt to... oh, they go Ponder here. Uh-huh. 1, 2. Yeah. I conceded a little early here. Was that the correct thing to do? No. I think it's probably... I don't think it would have been a winnable game, really, no matter what. Even if I snap back the Mystic, I know what I have on top in this counterspell. Alright, into game 3. No changes in the sideboard, same as in game 2. Still carrying cards to get rid of the graveyards, and carrying cards to prevent board wipes. That's basically about as good as we can do. Alright, let's take a look here. On the face of it, this seems like a pretty fine hand to keep. A bunch of 1-mana plays here. You can go Faerie Seer into Hacker, looking for lands. You effectively can see 2 off of Faerie Seer, 3 from the turn, 2 draw, and then 4 from the Moon Circuit Hacker. That should be a pretty good chance of getting a land, hopefully. But if we don't, you can still kind of mitigate that to a degree But yeah, by just replaying the Faerie Seer, looking for another land, but it's going to be a little dicey. You could theoretically get to turn 3 with only 1 land, because even if you Seer on turn 3 with 1 land, you're not going to draw that land until turn 4. And 2 lands in turn 4, not impossible. Not impossible, but not ideal, certainly. So let's see here. Play the Seer. And then immediately, no lands. Not great. So we just put them both on the bottom. Opponent just plays an island and then passes. Okay. Now at this point, we get a second Faerie Seer. I think the more conservative play would have been to just play a Faerie Seer. You can at least have 2 in the air. Just dealing, just ping in for some damage periodically. Then you can always Moon Circuit Hacker in one of them to buy it back if you absolutely need to. It also lets you see an additional 2 cards. But I go for the more aggressive play here. I just Moon Circuit Hacker here. Then, no luck. You just find a snap here. So in this way, this kind of shows that it may have been better to just Faerie Seer. Faerie Seer in turn, a second Faerie Seer in turn 2, you can pretty much, I don't know what the math is on this, but you can usually if you didn't find the 2 lands off the first Faerie Seer, you'd be very unlucky to not find 2 lands off the second Faerie Seer in your turn 3 draw. And they play Brainstorm here, then doing whatever. And then they play the Landscape here, and they play Augur here. Now, this shows why. If the opponent has shown you that they can play Augur in turn 2, this shows why immediately ninjaing on turn 2 isn't the greatest, because now the Augur can just block your ninja. Your ninja's kind of laughable at this stage. You can't dig anything for it, and this even just further reinforces that in retrospect, doing a second Seer would have been the ideal play, because you would have done 19, next turn you would have been down to 17. You don't really want to get to a stage where you have to be trying to race the opponent when you're playing fairies, but in certain matchups, like, you kind of have to, especially against Terror. Terror, I think, is definitely one of those matchups where, like, you really want to, like, try to absorb some hits if you can, you know what I mean? 1 life, you're still living, you know what I mean? And you have a lot of creatures, so you should have enough chump blockers for the Terrors. And then let's see here. Again, no lands, you see? This would have been an instance where playing Faerie Seer in turn 2, you could have just put these both back. Both worthless cards. The snap doesn't do anything for you right now. And this is also another instance where bind the monster. As you can see over here, I didn't bring in any binds. Binding an Augur is pretty good. It's not even binding a Terror is probably okay. I think in some instances, the only issue really against the Izzet matchup is that they can red Elemental Blast the bind later, which is kind of embarrassing, but in some instances might still be okay. Bind does basically nothing against what's it called, Murmuring Mystic. You know, you can get it out of the way as a blocker, certainly, but it's, yeah, it's not going to stop the birds. And that's really what it is. You basically, in this matchup, you basically can't really let a Murmuring Mystic resolve unless they're like at 3 or 4 life, and you can go super wide, and it's like their last play. But for the most part, if they slam Murmuring Mystic on turn 4, you're kind of boned. Alright. Play Seer, finally get a little bit of luck here. You see an island and a Moon Circuit Hacker. We put this on the bottom because we really need to have 3 lands, but again, and I know this is like maybe the 3rd or 4th time I said this, turn 2 Faerie Seer along with your turn 1 Faerie Seer would have been a lot better than a turn 2 Hacker that gets embarrassed by this Augur. And then as you can see here, scry one top, one bottom. I put the hacker on the bottom, put the island on top. And again here, if you they're at 18, but we could have pinged in for 2 damage here with our two seers, and that did not happen. Now they play a fjord. With the fjord here, you have to care about potentially getting breath weapons on turn 4. And they play a second augur. Now, even worse. Theoretically, if you had 2 ninjas, you could swing both of them. They block one of them, and then you could maybe like ninja the second hacker back or something like that. In this case, let's say for example, if Ninja the Deep Powers was in there, you could if you somehow draw into a second hacker, you could bring this back, draw a card, and in any number of instances. But really, with the 2 augurs here, they're going to be blocking your ninjas on the ground. Augur is the ninja's worst enemy. The other thing about having 2 here is that now they can double block a ninja. And previously, if somehow we got lucky, we got 2 deep hours out there, and 2 deep hours swinging into 1 augur, one of them is going to get through. Two ninjas swinging into 2 augurs. If they get, you can get blown out by them double blocking one of the ninjas and then bolting the second. That's pretty bad. But yeah, second augur, not great. Augurs is one of those things where it's like, if I can stutter it, that's what I'm going to try to do here. Yeah. And then finally draw our second island. Now the aggressive play here would have been to play a Faerie Seer. And I think that's actually what I do here. Let's see. Swing. Do I play it? And I don't here. Probably just to make it seem like I have something. If they go, for example, island here, and they go breath weapon, I could go blue elemental blast, the breath weapon, and then if they have like a spell pierce or a dispel on my blue elemental blast, I lose my board. Pretty bad. I think that's probably what I was thinking, is that I was worried about the breath weapon. But again, if we had played the Faerie Seer in turn 2, they would have been down, I think, to 15 at this stage. They swing here. This is a safe attack, pretty much. You could theoretically go Brinebarrow here, double block the augur, but if they breath weapon, you get embarrassed. And they play nothing. And then, yeah, that's basically it. At this point, you could have maybe snapped it back. But again, breath weapon, it leaves you open a breath weapon. Pretty bad, pretty bad, pretty bad. On upkeep, they scred. This makes it so you can't ninja. This makes it so that your stutters, any stutters you have, are worse. Cast into the Fire is the thing in this deck, and so now you can't handle cast. And you don't have redundancy. In some cases, what happens is that you have, let's say, for example, you have 2 series out, or you just have 2 fairies out. You play Stutter to counter a 2 CMC spell. They would basically have to kill 2 of your fairies to prevent the stutter from resolving properly. You know what I mean? Those are the sorts of things that are pretty bad. Now, this is actually a really good play for an opponent. They basically made it so that invalidated anything that we could have done here. And if we do something here and we don't have a third lane and we don't have counterspell and we don't have stutter, then it leaves us super wide open. So in the interest of safety, I kind of just let this go. And then you see here, it makes our stutter so much worse. We play our Seer here. No third land. Really bad. Now we got Island and Spellstutter. Now let's see here. I think at this stage what you should do is that you should probably put Stutter on the bottom and put the Island on top. No matter what, you need to have the Island. You need to have the Island. But it looks like what I did here, and I think this is incorrect, is I put Stutter on top and then put Island on top, basically guaranteeing that we're not going to have 4 lands for a long time. Which is, again, a mistake. And now we're doing nothing here. You see? Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Let's say if we had gone back and stuff like that, and we actually thought, and we had played that turn 2. Again, this is This is the same mistake. This is basically just repercussions of not playing that Faerie Seer on turn 2. We could have kept one of the Faerie Seers and then dunked in for another point of damage. They would have been at 14 here, 3 down than what they were before. Then we go Brainstorm here. Brainstorm and then Fetch. Very strong, very strong. Puts back 2 useless cards. Do they fetch here? Yeah, they do. You see, look, good. Yeah, there you go. Now, again, when you're playing Izzet builds here, you do want to have 2 red sources. You want to have a case where you can do Breath Weapon, holding up a Pyro. That's pretty good, pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Those are all good effects. And here they just slam their Mermaid Mystic because they know that, or at least they have seen, I haven't played any Force Spikes. There are some lists that do play Force Spikes, but mine doesn't. I think it's kind of situational. In a lot of cases, you take them out when you're on the draw, I kind of feel like. Yeah, I usually take them out on the draw. Anyways, Mermaid Mystic in, pretty bad. This is essentially, if I can't deal with this, it's sort of game over. And in retrospect, you can see that I do have some answer here. And we'll go over why this might be okay. But let's kind of go through here. And then they just swing in 2 damage very safely. I Brinebarrow here. And then there is an error here when I block. Now, what I could have done here is that with this as a -1 power, I could have double blocked with the Moon Circuit Hacker on here and then blocked the Augur here. I don't do that. I think I was basically just a brain fart. I could have saved myself 1 point of damage here. And with their birds being a thing, being a factor, that actually 1 point of damage might actually come back to bite me later. But these are just like, you know, minor sort of decision points that could have had an effect, but just made the wrong choice here. All right, so now we draw the island that we put on top, and remember that we have another stutter on top. Incorrect. Wrong. But yeah, that's kind of what we have. When them playing the Murmuring Mystic, it kind of just embarrasses the fairies, you know, in a lot of ways. So yeah, play that. And with the presence of the Murmuring Mystic, you see, here is another point where I made a mistake. I could have just snapped back this Murmuring Mystic. They would have spent most of their turn turn 6 playing it back, maybe holding up a protection, you know, and then we could have very safely chunked in for some additional points of damage. This is just another instance where, like, this is the one place where snap would work on the Murmuring Mystic. When I have the snap here, you really want to snap back your own creatures, or you want to snap back like a Murmuring Mystic as a tempo play. That's really the only reasons why you would keep snapping here. Snapping Augur late game to push in the last bits of damage because they like are swinging in with some level of safety. That makes some amount of sense. You could have, yeah, that's. Anyways, long story short, snapping here on the Murmuring Mystic would have made more sense here because it is a tempo play here. We just swing both of these for not much reason. We could have kept this back so that we could have double blocked an Augur. And then I guess my thinking was that I just want a Ninja here. Drawing the stutter that's on top, that is not super great here. At this point, I think I maybe should have Faerie Seered. I think the reason why at the point in time when I did not snap back the Murmuring Mystic, I think the reason why was because if I'm going to snap it back, I want to be able to counter it when they play it again. That mostly only works when you're ahead. Now they've already played 4 lands. I'm to 3 lands. So I'm not ahead. I need to do this just to kind of invalidate some of their turn 6. I should have just Faerie Seered here because, and I'll tell you why I didn't, is because I was worried about Breath Weapon. But the thing is that even if they play Breath Weapon, they have so many different ways of protecting it that it makes the rest of the stuff not great. And the other thing is that if they Breath Weapon, they protect, they get 2 birds. And if I dispel one of them and they protect the Breath Weapon because they're playing pretty smartly, they're going to be ahead no matter what. And so I really should just play the Faerie Seer here. Let's see if I do. And I don't, because I'm playing from behind, and I feel like I need to protect, and that's not the correct mentality to have at this point. You basically have to, sometimes you have to think about, like, don't think about ways that you can lose. Think about ways that you can put yourself in a winning position here. And I just didn't do that. Again, you see Scred here. I respond to the Scred, they counter it, they make a second bird. And here, you see, I'm, again, following the mentality of playing from behind. And then, so you see here, they just play loose focus. And now they have 2 birds. And now they have a flying clock. And they also have blockers for my flyers. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Swinging with the Mermaid Mystic. Just such a cheeky move. Just so cheeky. Look at that. Hilarious. Hilarious. Alright, let's look at this relic here. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instants of sorcerers in the graveyard. They could not have played the Terror there anyways, even if they had one. So my thinking is that, well, I'm going to play Relic. I'll just go ahead and eat graveyards, hopefully draw a 4th land, and I don't here. And I can't even attack. Now look at this. Look at these life totals. 17 to 15. They're going to swing with these 2 birds over here pretty safely. Sad. Just super sad. Now, again here, another chance to just play the Faerie Seer. And I don't take it because, again, I'm thinking about about Breath Weapon, about Cast Down, about any number of ways to get embarrassed. But it doesn't matter because they're just going to swing with their flyers. Yeah, and basically, as long as you can't get rid of this Mermaid Mystic, basically any ways that they have of protecting the Mystic, any ways they have of cantripping, all of those things is just going to make the situation worse and worse and worse. And this is another instance where, like, let's think back to earlier, when they had let's look over here on their turn. They played the Mystic on turn 5. And then let's look at what they did on turn 6. They Scredded and they loose focused. If I had just snapped it back, they wouldn't have these 2 birds here. You see? If I had just snapped this Mermaid Mystic back on my turn 6, I would have gotten in 3 additional points of damage. They wouldn't have these 2 birds, and they would have spent that time doing that instead of interacting with my ninjas. That would have basically put them into a position where they were forced to either interact with my ninjas, or they were forced to play out the Mermaid Mystic. Hopefully, maybe they have another untapped land or something like that, and they played that. And then, in that instance, I could have had a ninja. I could have ninjas or protected my board a little bit better. Any number of those things. But the point is that by not snapping this back, by snapping and hoping for a counterspell, that's I think the wrong move here. All right, so I just play. Finally got a 4th island on turn 8. Play out the Seer. Now we find an island and a stutter here. It looks like I put 2 to the top again. This is not great. Why is this not great? It's because if I'm holding the snap in hopes of finding a counterspell, I really should be scrying for a counterspell here. But by putting 2 to the top here, the stutters aren't going to do anything. They're not going to get through the birds. You can't stutter back and get a ninja. You know what I mean? These are all just instances where, like, I'm not playing to win. I'm playing to lose slower. And you can't really do that here. If they're swinging 2 bird tokens, that's because they safely have another instant or a cantrip or something like that to make another boy. You know what I mean? All of those are reasons why they're just swinging in with 2 birds very safely. And they just pass. They don't need to do anything, you see? Play an island. Play a Seer. You see, they do cast into the fire. on these two pretty good targets here. Even if I play out the stutter, they still make a bird. They can still block the seer. They still prevent me from ninjaing, if that was my plan. Play another seer. Find another island. Find another spell stutter. Alright. Again, in this instance, I'm pretty sure the correct move is just bottom both of these. Let's see if I'm smart here. I did top bottom. Probably bottom the island because 5 is fine, but what's the stutter doing? It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. It can't get through the birds. That's my guess, is I probably put stutter on top. Another island doesn't do anything for me, but realistically, again, if I'm trying to get rid of the Murmuring Mystic with Snap and Counterspell, then that's what I should be looking for. But at this stage, you see their cantrip. They're just making birds. It doesn't matter. They have a clock anyways in the air. And I'm not running Echoing Truth in the sideboard. If I was, Echoing Truth actually would have been a pretty good answer for the birds. You know what I mean? That actually would be relatively decent. But now they can just swing here with Abandon. Doesn't even matter. Now they have a clock. You see, look at that. And then they play a Lori in here. And what can I do? Nothing. I snap back the Murmuring Mystic right now. Because they can't recast it. But it doesn't matter. They have 4 birds, I think. I just play a stutter here just to increase my fairy count. This actually does let me stutter their Murmuring Mystic if they replay it. But they have 4 flyers, that's 4 in the air, or 4 blockers. Not great. And you see, they can outrace me at this point. They have more cards in hand. Let's say, for example, they play Murmuring Mystic. I go stutter. They go like counterspell. I could dispel it or something like that, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I can do these things, you know, just to protect against the Murmuring Mystic. But at this point, they're already ahead. Fairies, you can't really play from behind nearly so easily. You're basically hoping for something like they swing with birds and then you Brinebarrow like one of the birds so that you can block it. So I play the stutter here. And actually, Snap, untapping 2 lands, playing the stutter, that actually is the only line here. But I made so many mistakes earlier that I can't use this to my advantage, really. And now they play the Breath Weapon. So they did have a Breath Weapon. I mean, obviously, they're not going to sideboard incorrectly. Okay, great. They don't swing with the birds here. Probably because they're worried about ninjas. Which makes sense. You know what I mean? I have 4 in the air. We can play out this of one mind. That's not nothing. Now we get a counterspell. Play an island. Now, there's no good reason to play the island here. You really should just play the island to bluff, having 3 cards. They could go up to 5. You know what I mean? That's something. But, yeah. The only thing that would really save me here would be an Echoing Truth. A well-timed Echoing Truth with Dispel and Counter Magic, but it doesn't matter here. They go Augur. This makes it so that any ninjas they draw further, kind of worthless. But let's see here. Let's see what happens here. They get a Scred. Not great. Now I know they have a Scred. So even if I do ninja here, and they play another Lore Revealed, I can't let this resolve. I have to counter it. But then they're at 4 cards to my 1 card. Look at that. So even if I draw a ninja later, they can Scred it on hit. And then I just snap back one of the birds, which is not really a great use of it. Yeah, you see. And the terror, along with the bird tokens, that's essentially game over. Wow, 2 terrors. That's essentially game over. There's not too much left to go on here. There are 3 cards to my 1 card. I draw an island. This is pretty much over. I probably should have just conceded at this point, probably. And again, you can see they're like 6 minutes ahead of me on time. They can just chonk in for a fuck ton of damage. Let's see here. I can block here. Take 5, but it doesn't matter. They can just continue swinging in with blockers, and they have flyers here, so I can't even really. Yeah, you see, not great. And then I concede. You see, so this is an instance where what are the like? I think the key decision points are not searing, not Faerie Seering on turn 2. Because that would have at least advanced the advanced my game plan of chunking them in for damage a little bit more. It would have given me more fairies at one point to make them be more concerned about the stutters. And the second point is that I didn't snap back the Mermaid Mystic. Now, ultimately, those decisions may not have altered the outcome, but it would have made the game a little bit closer. It may have altered their decisions a little bit differently. But yeah. That's basically it. One more mistake, I think, is that Bind the Monster, I think, is probably good against the Augurs. They're good against Augurs, and they're not the worst thing to do against the Terrors. The Terrors are going to swing anyways. They can obviously red Elemental Blast the Binds after they stick, but Pyros and Red Ellies, they're easy to stutter. That's usually pretty good. I'm packing Dispels. I'm packing Blue Ellies. For all those reasons, Bind here is probably fine, I think. The Snare Master is maybe okay, but I do think that I kept most of the time, if I'm going to keep the Miscreants in, I'm doing it because I want to be a bit more aggressive. Playing, like, juggling Miscreants and Ninjas is a great way to draw cards. It's a little fragile, obviously, but it's not the worst idea here. But yeah, the Snare Masters on the Augurs is probably okay. Yeah, but again, Bind's probably better. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, mistakes made, you learn through them, and yeah. I'll just kind of go over certain omissions that like the deck, just stuff the deck doesn't have. For one thing, no cantrips, no ponders, no preordains, no brainstorms. I think the reason why is because cantrips ultimately do not support an aggressive like the aggressive side of the deck. A lot of people would call this deck tempo, and I don't think that there is. This is getting into a little bit of semantics, I guess. In my opinion, tempo is a game concept. I don't think it's necessarily a type of deck. A deck can be built to use tempo, but it's not. What's the word for it? I don't think it's a deck archetype in and of itself. I think tempo is, like, in my view, the way tempo works is, like, can I waste an opponent's turn? That's probably the way that I would classify or describe tempo. Can I waste the opponent's turn? Can I make my own turns more useful? This deck is more of something called it's weird to say this, but it's an aggro control deck, in my view. It's a deck where you want to have a clock, and then you want to be able to protect the clock. That's probably my general description of it. Yeah, that's sort of how I describe it, and that's really the reason why there's no cantrips here. Let's see what else there is. There's no Force Spike. The Dispel and Spell Pierce package. Whoops. Oh no. I removed one. The Dispel and Spell Pierce package, I guess, is probably fine. It's good enough for now. I don't think it's super necessary to have something else, really. Force Spike, you can use it for getting rid of big creatures. One of the downsides of this deck is that it doesn't really handle something like Gruul monsters well. But if the opponent is tapping out for Gruul monsters for some for like Writhing Chrysalis or something like that, and you Force Spike it, it feels pretty good instinctively. But a lot of times they're making so much mana they can just play the Force Spike anyways. So you really need to draw it within the first like 2 to 3 turns for it to be relevant. And if you get it late, it's kind of just embarrassing, I guess, is sort of the way to view it. The other thing is that, yeah, that's really all I've got to say on Force Spike there. Some things the deck can play is Harrier Strix. Do I have any Harrier Strixes? Did I buy any? Let me see here. Harrier Strix. Come on. No, I didn't. Okay. What about Cogwork Wrestler? Do I have any of those? Okay, whatever. Those are probably going to be, yeah, not Archivist, whatever. Cogwork Wrestler. Okay, basically they're both just 1-drop creatures. I'll basically just go over them later. I think they could potentially have some place in this deck. The only problem is that they're not humans and they're not fairies. So it doesn't really synergize as well with Of One Mind. Yeah, that's sort of really all I've got to say about that, really. It's something I might experiment with. I've seen some cases where some people run an additional Cogwork Wrestler. All Cogwork Wrestler it really is that it's an artifact creature. That's basically just another Brinebarrow Intruder. That's the easiest way of describing it. Yeah, that's about it, really. Otherwise, if you've seen the first video, the game plan is basically the same. Why did I include a perilous landscape here? I mean, I keep doing this. Remove. Whoops. Yeah, that's basically it.